you want an exposure to a market or an
Everything they need in one place.
Be the world's foremost authority on
Individuals, advisors and institutions.
Hello and welcome. Today I had the pleasure of meeting Mark Mobius of Franklin Templeton, who outlined the most attractive emerging markets at this time. As an investor interested in the developing markets, would you suggest to have a general approach, so to invest in the total spectrum of emerging markets, or to bet on some countries, specific countries?
Well, I would say as a first step, with somebody who doesn't have the time to look at individual sectors or countries, go into a global emerging markets portfolio. But then, if you have time, try to examine which areas are interesting. And when I say interesting, I mean are unpopular.
Okay.
Something that maybe doesn't look good now. For example, right now Brazil is unpopular, is down. Look at that. Russia is unpopular. Look at that. That's the kind of thing you've got to do. And if you really have the time, go into individual companies and see which ones are unpopular or down, but fundamentally have good assets, good earnings.
Okay, so speaking of that, what are your top 3 emerging markets today and why?
If you look at our portfolio, our emerging markets portfolio, you see China is number 1, India number 2, and Brazil number 3.
Okay.
Of course, it varies from fund to fund, but that's the general condition. And the reason, of course, China is growing at an incredible pace. And even though some of the stocks have gotten too high, there are many, many other stocks that have not moved up a lot. India, as you know, is doing very well economically. Some problems with reform. Some of the stocks are expensive, but we still want to get exposure. And then Brazil, as you know, is now what we call bombed out. You know, it's down a lot, and there's an opportunity.
Okay, you often said that Africa is the future. What are the most attractive frontier markets today?
Right now, it would be Nigeria, Egypt, and Kenya. Of those, you know, north of South Africa. But you should not overlook South Africa, because South Africa has companies that are investing in the north of where they are. And that's going to be a great opportunity for them. Okay,
and outside Africa?
Outside Africa, you have to look at places like Vietnam, Bangladesh, and don't forget the Middle East. Because Saudi Arabia is actually one of the largest markets among the frontier markets.
Well, Dr. Mario, thanks for having shared your insight with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. For Morningstar, Valerio Baselli. Thanks for watching.